Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Dano Crypto. So, are you guys ready to witness the most hated rally in crypto history? I want you to guess what rally I'm talking about. Okay, well, I'll give you a second, but we'll go to this clip real quick. We'll go to this clip, and this might help you. This is an old clip, actually, from me.
It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of time. It's so obvious now at this point that the old heads are going to pick the Microsoft of crypto. Solana is Apple, Ethereum is Microsoft. They're going to have the programmers, the development support, the know-how to deal with traditional financial institutions.
Okay, so basically, we've been bullish on Ethereum. We've told you guys that this is something that you do not want to fade. And I've realized that with crypto Twitter, it's been really, really easy to get distracted from Ethereum, because we've had a lot of this attention economy, which is basically what crypto is. It's a big attention economy. Whatever's going to get the most attention can get some liquidity. And a lot of that has been going into the Solana ecosystem. The crypto Twitter timeline has convinced a lot of OG ETH holders to sell all their ETH into Solana or Sui or whatever other altcoin they think is going to outperform Ethereum. Now, there's some interesting metrics that we can look at that can help us in this particular conversation. And so we're going to get into it. And all the while, Bitcoin is doing really well. So shout out to everyone who has been perma-bullish on Bitcoin as well. Got a lot of major announcements that are happening with Trump today, with the China tariffs. But what we want to pull up on this particular video and on this chart is the ETH BTC ratio chart, which is actually starting to get I think a nice V-shaped recovery. It's a little extended out, but it's kind of been trending down. But what we're seeing is that we're seeing a bounce. We're seeing a bounce from this particular level that we saw in 2019. And you can see here after the fact that we bounced from this level, we went into our altcoin season. And if you guys remember, in the beginning of 2021 was when we started to really, really pick up on the altcoins. We had DeFi summer happening. We had Binance Smart Chain. I mean, there was a lot that was going off parabolic, but banana zone territory. And so this is a really important chart that has been tracked by some of the major TA guys like Benjamin Cohen, tracking this ETH BTC chart. And the fact that now it has bounced and has, I think if you look at this chart, you can see it's found its bottom. This is going to, I think, send the actual price of Ethereum into these levels that we've been looking at for some time now. And if you look at how Ethereum reacted in the previous bull market, 2017, this is very, very key, because in 2017, if we just go to the Bitcoin monthly returns, this is very, very, very telling, because in 2017 is where we had some of the biggest runs. I mean, that was before the 2021 run. The 2017 run was where a lot of these OG, crypto people came out of that cycle and learned about the altcoins. Maybe they learned a lesson or two, and then going into the next cycle, they were able to, reorient themselves, their strategy, their plan, and kind of go into a different attack mode. So what I'm looking at here is 2017 comparison to this year. It's very, very similar. It's got a very similar look to it. And if you correlate this with the total crypto market cap and the trend line, we basically were trading under fair value before that 2017 run. And then once we finally got over fair value of the total cryptocurrency market cap, we blasted off to the upside and we hit that upper band. Now, I think we would have hit the upper band in 2021, but I think we got massively rug pulled. Like we've explained before in previous videos, we had a lot of capitulation events that happened, and we didn't hit the full expectation of what we thought this particular run was going to be. We were all calling for 100K or at least 90K at this point, and we did not hit it. And then we had the capitulation of all the exchanges, the bankruptcies, FTX. And so that brought us back under the fair value line. So now that we are trading up into the fair value, I think if you're looking at these patterns, you say, okay, under that fair value, pump banana zone to the upside. Under that fair value, pump banana zone to the upside. And if we can hit that upper band, then we're going to be into some interesting territory. So even just between, 30 trillion to 40 trillion, or even getting into the 10 trillion total market cap, this is going to send ETH just parabolic. And so I'm more on the side of not paying attention to this ETH isn't worth holding, or ETH is dead, ETH is going to go to zero. All these other, layer ones are going to perform better than Ethereum. I am more on the side that it will go to all-time highs. And one of the catalysts, this is just one catalyst, okay, is the Ethereum ETF. Now, you remember, we've been talking about the Ethereum ETF, and when they start to flow in this ETF and they can earn yield on it, this is going to get the same type of liquidity inflows just like Bitcoin is experiencing right now, where it's getting 356 million, 531 million. Some of those months ago, where we were getting the highest ETF flows for Bitcoin going into almost $1 billion in one day. So this is where I think even if we just get 100 million, 200 million flowing into these ETFs for Ethereum, it is going to send this price parabolic. So my price target for this particular cycle for Ethereum is actually up at this particular price point right here at 6,500. But we really, if we're looking at this top trend line band and going off the bottom, we're in this regression channel that I think eventually will break up. We'll break that previous resistance. We will go to a new all-time high, and we'll be sitting at a 10K ETH. Now, you'll think I'm crazy for saying this, but there is some data to back this up. There's a lot of things that are pushing the catalyst for ETH to hit a new all-time high. Now, one of them, like I just mentioned, was the ETF. But then you have to think about World Liberty Financial, which is the Trump team's and the Trump family's Ethereum protocol. And look at how much ETH they're holding. Look at how much ETH they're holding in just staked ETH. 12 million, and then they have 20 million, and they probably have more. This is just tracking just this one particular wallet, one particular protocol, but I think they have more ETH than we realize. And this whole time that the timeline has been convincing you to sell your Ethereum, the big money is buying it up. So I always say, who are you going to believe? The crypto Twitter grifters or the billions of dollars of wealth funds, managers, asset managers, and the Trump team themselves being bullish on Ethereum? And then not to mention BlackRock, which I think is going to push that catalyst, because you think, look, who bought the ETF before the weekend? BlackRock, 17 million. Not as much as Bitcoin, but it's something. So I think it's signaling that this will be one of the most hated rallies in crypto history, because ever since ETH BTC, or ETH has been bleeding into Bitcoin, and everyone thinks that there's not going to be another altcoin season, you could be convinced this. But this if you think about the history of how Bitcoin is operated and how Bitcoin's price action is, that's usually people got convinced to sell or to not hodl in all different points, and then end up buying back at a higher price than what their average cost was to begin with. And all they had to have was a little bit of patience, a little bit of determination, and not get so distracted. Or as Raul Paul says, just don't F this up. A perfect example of what Raul Paul did and explained in Bitcoin is that he was like, I bought Bitcoin at $2,000. I sold it too early, ended up buying it back at at a higher price because it was just the nature of how Bitcoin was moving. It's volatile. You can get convinced that, okay, that might be it. And then you end up going back in chasing the price. So ETH sitting at where it's at right now is it's just a perfect storm. I can feel it. It's just this perfect storm. And what's interesting too is when you start to look at Ethereum, you start to look at the high liquidity tokens on Ethereum, things like Pepe recently have been trading astronomical numbers, like crazy astronomical numbers for trading volume across exchanges. Same with MogCoin, ticker Bitcoin also has been pumping. The high liquidity tokens, that MogCoin is another one. A lot of these are 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years old, established memes. And when Ethereum even just does a 10%, 15%, these coins do 30, 40, 50, 60% multiples and really start to run. So there's going to be this a network effect with Ethereum, and it's gonna get pretty wild here. But there's so many catalysts. Just the ETF and Trump World Liberty Financial alone is enough to get me super perma bullish on Ethereum. So there's also some metrics here for the layer 2 weekly engagement, which if you think the layer 2s are the scaling of Ethereum, so then you can see that the layer 2 weekly engagement has been increasing and has been going up over time. And so that's super bullish. And then, not to mention, this is just for Bitcoin, but then also for Ethereum, the Bitcoin exchange reserves and the Ethereum exchange reserves are going down as the prices are going up. So what is that going to do? Well, it's going to cause a supply shock. So a supply shock could be coming to Ethereum and also Bitcoin. So this is going to be huge, guys. So I really do believe that this will be one of the most hated rallies, because for the past year and a half, however long Ethereum has kind of been bleeding into Bitcoin, you could have easily been distracted and think that Ethereum is going to die. But I will say that there's going to be a smell that you've never smelled before coming off the crypto Twitter timeline when ETH breaks its all-time high. And they're going to do the same thing how Raul Paul explained with his Bitcoin mistake, where these people are going to end up buying ETH at all-time highs. So we'll just have to see. But I'm a little more on the side of that happening. And we're going to be coming into, like I said, one of the most hated rallies in crypto. So make sure you guys are checking out Ethereum. Check out the ETH BTC ratio chart. And let's be bullish on Ethereum. Don't fade it. All right, guys. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Ding the bell. And we'll catch you on our weekly live streams. And apologize, I'm dealing with some little sickness here, so I'm a little sniffly, but